What's up guys, ZiSotto here, and today we're doing the patch notes review for patch 4.14, Ursa Mayor, which is the release patch for the new Goddess Artio. So usually we focus on the balance stuff and not so much on the skins, and we will begin with Artio and then go through the rest. Artio is the newest goddess to come in Smite, the bear goddess, Celtic pantheon, and the guardian for that pantheon. We have her main skin here, and what you can already see here is that there are two forms, stand switcher between the druid form and the bear form. So that means we have two kits basically. We have a stance switch ultimate, which means it's kind of like Ullr or Hell, where you just get a relatively minor effect from the ult because it's the stance switch, and you will have two abilities on level 1 as well as 3 abilities in total in each stance. Let's begin with the passive. Decompose. Enemy gods hit by Artio's druid or bear abilities will begin to decompose. This effect decreases their magical and physical protection. It stacks up to 8 times, and each stack is 3%, so up to 24% protection reduction. That's actually quite a lot. That's actually almost, not quite, but almost like Demonic Grip or executional levels, depending on what you're talking about. And it's both kind of reductions. It's magical and physical protection reduction. What you have to keep in mind is that you have to hit the enemies with abilities, and basically a lot of this will only be applied after you ran through the whole kit more than once. So you can't reach it within using all the abilities once. Usually we probably be around like maybe 3 to 4 stacks, kind of, I would say. And also it only lasts for seconds, so these run out very quickly, and you will not see the majority of these stacks most of the time, but a percentage reduction is still very, very strong regardless, so a very strong passive in itself. Then we have the 1, which is Energy Surge in Druid form or Maul in Bear form. And Energy Surge is just kind of like a beam forward, just a line ability that stays there for a while, and it has... No, incorrect, it's not. It's a cone. It's a cone that damages enemies and heals allies. And you can hit multiple enemies within this cone, and they will all get hit for the damage. And each of the targets hit will heal each of your allies in the radius. Kind of hard to explain here. So if there are 2 enemies, then there are 2 instances of heal for every one of your allies that is nearby. If you hit both of those enemies, obviously. This means that, for example, if you hit 3 enemies, all the allies around you, looking at the base values here, at max rank, will be healed for 420 plus 75% scaling. And likewise, the enemies will each take 190 damage plus 35% scaling. So quite interesting as an ability. You heal more the more enemies you hit, but your allies have to be nearby as well for it to work. So you want to be in the middle of the fray, but kind of close to your teammates at the same time. Very nice in a peeling situation where the enemies are engaging onto your team and you can give your allies the heal. 10-second cooldown, so relatively low, especially considering that if we're talking about cooldown reduction here, we're going down to 6 seconds. And in bear form, it's Maul, which is basically the most straightforward, simple ability here. Just a damaging ability that hits twice. 170 base plus 35% scaling each. That is actually quite a lot, given how large the cone is. But it has a bit of a delay. The hit goes from side to side, the swipe goes from side to side, and it will take quite a bit of time to fully hit both hits of this ability. Both cone abilities, so it's not that irritating, they kind of work the same way. This actually applies for a whole kit. This is different from, say, for example, Ullr, where one is a leap and one is a ranged attack. I think in the third ability there's a bit of a difference, but we get to that. The second ability is Entangling Vines. As a druid, you have a cripple circle radius around you that follows you. So this lasts for up to 8 seconds, which in my opinion is pretty crazy. And it does also give a debuff, a power debuff of up to 25%, meaning that the enemies will deal less damage. There's a 14-second cooldown, so with decent cooldown reduction you can get this going for quite long. I'm actually surprised about the 8 seconds here. It seemed shorter in the patch notes. I feel like it may get nerfed, because as this duration, or it may just be nerfed already, because as this duration here sounds super long in comparison to how short the cooldown is, you would basically constantly be crippling enemies around you almost. And yeah, a cripple is a very strong effect, and having the potential to move around with it is very, very strong. And this cripple is like different from, say, Ganesh Silence, which is stronger, obviously. It's a silent. It's all around her, so you can almost like zone off half a wave just with this cripple. And that's pretty damn crazy. The other ability is Ferocious Roar, which is a stun, which is so fast. It's faster than Apollo's Mez, I think, which is one of the fastest abilities in the game. It's a circle radius, relatively small radius, but it's a stun. It's a very quick stun, and quite impactful as such. And it also gives protections for herself. So she gets up to 50 protections, depending on how much is ranked. And the enemies will be stunned for 1.4 seconds. And like I said, if you max it out, it also lasts for 8 seconds, apparently, at the moment in the Druid form. Neither of these abilities deals damage, but then again, your support. And then we have Life Tab. This is probably the most different ability between the two, but still somewhat of a similar ability. The Life Tab Druid form is a line ability, whereas Heavy Charge is a dash, but goes in a line. Life Tab is kind of like a channeled beam. It lasts for 2 seconds, and it deals a decent amount of damage, ticking damage, 55 base plus 10% scaling, up to 5 times. And she also heals herself. Artio heals herself at the same time. 35 plus 10% scaling. So less heal than damage here. And if you hit an enemy, they get slowed. And the slow increases over time. It doesn't exactly say how much here. And after 5 ticks, if you keep hitting an enemy, they will be rooted for 1 second. Has a bit of a longer cooldown, was 15 seconds, but yeah. Also quite impactful, but more single target focused. And then in the bear form, we have the charge, which is just a dash that lasts for 3 seconds, like a medium speed forward dash, kind of a little bit like a mana dash maybe. And enemies take 270 damage plus 50% scaling and are slowed for 2 seconds. The slow goes up to 30%, depending on how much you level it. And then we have the ultimate, which is the shapeshift. But on top of that, you also get something for maxing this. And that is, every time Artio hits an enemy with abilities, she becomes invigorated, increasing her movement speed, and MP5 by 5 per stack. Stacks up to 8 times, and stacks last 4 seconds. The movement speed goes up to 3 per stack, and the MP5 goes up to 10 per stack. So again, more benefit from using abilities on enemies. And I gotta say, just looking over this kit as a whole, you have 2 slows in the kit, you have a root in the kit that's a bit more conditional, you have a very, very easy to use cripple, and you can get to the enemy easily through a dash. You can get out easily as well with a dash. And you also have extra protections, you have a self-heal, you also have an instant stun, and you have a pretty solid amount of healing for allies, and a pretty solid amount of damage. So, all things considered, we always have to see how things play out in PTS, but I would say she's definitely towards the stronger side. It's a matter of numbers in the end, but even if she didn't do much damage at all, the utility that her kit brings overall, also with the damage reduction that it has as well, is very, very potent. Or the protection reduction on enemies, and so much benefit for herself that she can probably very easily sustain in solo with the MP5 that she can get. And yeah, I don't know how this enemies applies here on the ultimate, but from what it sounds like, this applies on minions as well. It doesn't say enemy guard. And having this apply on minions means you can easily keep up the stacks in a wave. Not necessarily after the wave, because it only lasts for 4 seconds, but in a wave. And she will be constantly looking for trades no matter where she is, which is what supports currently do anyways, but for her it's super beneficial to do that. So I think she might easily be broken. I will be very careful to say this right now, because always a difference between what you see in the numbers and what you would see in the game, but she's definitely not trash. I will say that much for now. Then we have her recolor, which is a completely different theme, much more like a Norse kind of theme instead of the, well, kind of nature-focused theme, which I really like. I like this shift between the recolor and the normal color. And I think she will have very nice skins as well. And with that, a quick look at all the skins that we're getting. Dr. Madlov Cupid. Very interesting effects on that one. Actually has a jetpack instead of wings. Was a critical damage Naja. Also the normal color change as all these Tron style skins have. Pretty cool in my opinion. Then we have the community concept Awilix. I will say that the skin looks really cool. I will say that I will make a separate video on the skin as a whole. And I will say that it does not look very much like the concept for now. We'll go into detail about that then. But I will say that in the end, this is still a nice skin. Then we have the summer skin for Poash, which is super funny. He throws hogs instead of corpses. And he has various interesting effects. I think it's one of the coolest skins, even though I don't play Poash, effect-wise, that I would probably use if I was playing Poash. Then we have, what is it? SPF 666 Morrigan. Also, definitely a really cool skin. I like that one a lot. Then we have the Terra Tier 2, which I think looks really cool. Really nice color theme in-game. A bit more spiky than the default. In my opinion, actually better than the other skins she has, even though it's a Tier 2. Really goes with her original theme while enhancing it. Then there is a Tier 2 for Kokalin. It's a shirtless Kokalin with a mustache, basically. And ginger hair, which looks different in-game. And last but not least, we have the gold skin and like legendary skin for Cupid being redone. We quickly go over the voice packs. As usual, a quick warning for headphone users. These could be very loud. Turn down your speakers now if you have not. Let's go.
You just got lasered!
Dear haters, I couldn't help but notice that awesome ends with me, and ugly starts with you.
Make sure you tell the heavens I said hello!
I like this one a lot, by the way.
Piggy for you!
And that one.
We never understood Tannen. Why would you let the sun roast you to a crisp for fun?
And the rest of the skins don't have their own voice packs, as Tier 2 and so on. We got a Awilix dancing mode and a Poash dancing mode as well. We have various updates in regards to Project Olympus. This time the targeting goes more towards ranked. Ranked will have a new picked and ban phase, which is planning. In this planning phase, you will call out basically through like picking guards, which guard you would prefer to play and which guard you would prefer to ban. This is a 30-second period before the match. This gets taken away from the bank time, which you gotta say, it wasn't always used. So effectively, you will spend more time in the lobby, but you kind of know what people want to play before the match. Is that good? Is that bad? I don't know. We'll see what it actually does. It maybe helps a little bit with bans. The preferences there. As for the picks, it would only make sense if people have already caught their roles and everything. But it might help. It might just help. And matchmaking, or the matchmaking division will now show you, but only yourself, where you're supposed to be placed. So instead of just having the division where you're in, it will show you where your elo basically is around which division. So if you are getting matched against much higher ranked players, then you'll understand why, because your elo is placed there. And that's like your target division where the system is trying to put you. I think this is a very good change, though I'd rather just see normal MMR, but whatever. Then the guard leaderboards have been fixed up a little bit with a point value. We'll see how that works out. And fantasy points can be tipped. You can send another player's fantasy point after a match if you think they did very well, and you get a little less in return. So, quite a few changes regarding ranked. And then we have the new Fall Split bundle, which has a Dr. Madlov Cupid skin, which you've just seen. And various other stuff as usual. Probably some chests that you unlock along the way and everything like that. Yeah. And on that season ticket, there's also the critical damage Nazar, which you saw above. Greek Pantheon Recall, Egyptian Pantheon Recall, and Hype Time Level Up FX. So this is going to be interesting. It's a level up FX. Something we have not seen in the game yet. Might be interesting for someone like me who constantly misses out on their level ups. Then we have a soft elo reset with the new rank split. No surprise there. And division adjustments regarding the MMR, which is especially impactful for Joust and Duel, not so much for Conquest. And obviously you get a fall recall skin as for every split. Some bug fixes, relatively minor here. Just a weakened animation for the Phoenixes, for example, here in Stonecutting Sword. Did not get a stuck if they dealt a killing blow, which doesn't matter all too often. And a fix for Athena. Now for the big deals in terms of balance, aside of the new goddess. We have Bracer of Undoing. Reduce the health and mana restored from 50% of the recently taken damage to 40%. Now this is super weird. In the patch before, we had an increase from 50% to 60% on both the base and the upgrade. I don't know if this change never made it into the actual game, or if it just was forgotten in the description, because Bracer says 50% in-game at the moment. But in the patch note, it said that's going to go up to 60%. And the upgrade definitely is 60%, but here it also says reduced health and mana restored from 50% to 40%. So what it actually is, at least for the upgrade, and probably also for the base version, probably just a miss-out description there, is a reduction from 60% of health and mana to 40%. That is a lot. 40% with the fact that you can still use anti-heal against this, meaning this can be like 20%, and you just get the mana back. Does not make it worth it picking up in my eyes anymore. Yeah, I think Bracer is completely done with now. I don't see it. I don't see any situation where 40% of your health returned would be worth it, because you would have to take so much damage for it to get the same value as you would get out of Aegis, for example, simply because you just avoid so much damage in the first place. Yeah, the return health effect is nice, but if it actually stays at 40%, I doubt it's going to get picked up. Very niche option for those who look for the CDR, but if you're primarily looking for the healing, I doubt it's going to be beneficial now. Atlantis Bow. Increase the movement speed buff from 2 seconds to 3 seconds. Item is still trash, way too expensive for what it offers. Just build Ninja Tabi if you want the stats, and that's it. Would be better if it was a lot cheaper. Demonic Grip. Massive buff. Decreased cost from 2,300 to 2,150. 150 off, which is always nice, especially for something you want to pick up relatively early. Decreased magical power from 65 to 40. Alright, we lose 25 magical power. But increased attack speed from 15% to 30%. We are lacking magical attack speed items at the moment. Extremely. And giving this item 15% more, it should be very much more valuable than the 25 magical power for gods that are based around attack speed and don't even rely that much on the power, but rather the base values quite often. So definitely a good option here. Also makes it a bit more worthwhile to just build into another power item instead of building like both Witch Blade and Toxic Blade on certain characters. I think a very good change overall, and we'd see more of this item. Maybe even on Ao Kuang, because we also have Hazen Ring. Hazen Ring now gets an increase on the haste buff from 4 seconds to 6 seconds. 6 seconds should be plenty of time to kill pretty much any target. That's even like Freya's full duration of the 2, which you don't really hit anyways. I showed that recently, that you don't actually get use of the full duration because you need to hit a target first. So now the Hasten Ring will actually last longer than her full range steroid. And the internal cooldown is decreased from 30 seconds to 25 seconds, so it happens a little more often as well. So that makes Hasten Ring much more of a worthy pickup, and especially in combination with Demonic Grip, I think this will do quite a bit for AA mages in general. God changes. Anhur gets some buffs. Disperse gets a damage increase, just a flat 20, so a little more aggression for Anhur. And Desert Fury gets a cooldown reduction from 90 seconds to 75 seconds, meaning that he can use it a lot more, which means that his early bully potential overall just becomes higher. More base damage, especially because he sometimes just don't even level Disperse as his escape. And then the Desert Fury on top of that. You get blown up if you don't watch out against an Anhur LD, and he can snowball very well off that lead. Cernunnos. It's happening. I like this line. It's happening. I actually read this out. Cernunnos is strong in many situations, but this could come with some drawback. Horn Charge is going to be riskier to use early against opponent due to its decreased damage, while late game Cernunnos will not be hitting as hard in summer heat. In addition to these adjustments, Wild Hunt is also seeing cooldown increase. This is a very powerful crowd control effect that does not suffer diminishing returns. It should have a longer cooldown to match. Correct. Shift of season. This is the one we all needed, we all expected. Decreased summer heat scaling from 10% to 5%. Still a strong effect. Probably still the primary stance you're going to be in, but the nerf was needed. It was just like, there was no reason to ever use anything else. Maybe now we see some strats where other stances can get used more. Horn charge, something that I always found weird, that it has high damage in the first place. Still has high damage, but a little less early on, which is more than fair. The Wild Hunt, 10 seconds on top of the 90 seconds cooldown, so 100 seconds now. Very much fair. I think the diminishing returns immunity should have been tackled instead, but I'm okay with this. Overall, this takes him down a notch. It does not make him trash. I'm pretty sure it does not make him trash, but it puts him much more in line with like balanced hunters, and I think this is definitely a needed step in the right direction, and hell, it's about time. Freya gets some buffs, kind of obvious with how she was performing. Base attack speed increase from 0.95 to 1.0. This is something you shouldn't undervalue because this affects all the items that you build afterwards, and with Demonic Grip having more attack speed, this is quite a fair bit. Quite a fair bit. And for Freya, attack speed is so important because it means more shots in the duration of her 2, so, or 2 and her 1. So this base value already gives her a strong benefit overall. And then Pulse also gets increased base damage on top of that, 10 per rank, and the base values are what's important when it comes to Freya's damage, because she doesn't scale all too well overall, including the basic attack itself. It's like 60% at like per hit with a 1-2 combo, which is not bad by any means, but still, especially early on, you're looking for the base values, and as such, this increase will be drastic. And I think all of this together will make her quite a fair bit stronger, and I'm not quite sure where to put her, but it could actually be scary. Osiris gets a nerf. Judgment Tether removed the bonus 5% damage reduction per second when a target was tethered. This removed up to 20% damage reduction at maximum duration. Very fair change. He was very, very strong, and I'm glad he got nerfed. And this is a significant nerf. It says it's just the highest level of play, but I can see it across all levels of play being a relevant thing, that you can't bully him as soon as you get the tethers on you. So I think it's good. I think it's a very good change. Raijin gets various changes after his initial changes. Charge tempo, increased cooldown reduction from 1 second to 2 seconds, so quite a fair bit more. Percussive Storm now pierces enemy guards, probably the most impactful change in this patch, because this means you cannot be stopped from clearing by body blocks, or you can go and hit multiple guards with it as well. A lot stronger this way, and something the pros have requested. And Taiko Drums decreased self-slow from 40% to 20%, allowing you to move around a lot more and is being a lot less risky. So this might actually put him in a much better place than beforehand. We'll see how it plays out. Raijin has been so out of the meta, and they're so weird afterwards that it's really hard to place him right now, but I think overall it will push him at least to mid-tiers. I think this will make him a lot more decent. And last but not least, the Morrigan decreased stealth duration from 4 to 8 seconds to 4 to 6 seconds, and adjusted mana cost from 60 to 80 instead of just flat 70. That's fair. She was very much performing well with the stealth in the SPL, and it gets nerfed a little bit. In casual play, you won't see much of a difference. In SPL level play, definitely. And that's it. I think this is one of the patches I am generally very, very happy with. The only complaints I have are regarding skins, pretty much. And we have seen changes to a lot of low-tier guards that have been underperforming, and a lot of high-tier guards that just were in dire need of nerfs. And that, overall, makes this, in my opinion, actually, especially in combination with Artio, the best patch we've seen in a long time. Even the rank changes are nice. So I'm super happy with this. And I'd like to hear your opinion down below in the comments. With that, thank you guys for watching. If you're not subscribed yet, feel free to click that sub button and maybe the bell. It really helps me out. See you for the next one tomorrow. SLOTH. Out.